welcome to our very first vlog podcast that still needs a name. My name is Devyn. I'm with TS I Love You, and I'm here with my mother, Marla.
Hi, I'm Marla Shea. I'm the accountability leader for the Power of Three, and I am Devyn's mother.
Yes, mother and confidant in partnership. So quick shout out today. As you know, there's been a lot of new things happening in the world in terms of the corona and keeping the 6 feet apart and wearing the masks. And I don't know about some of you, but having those masks definitely makes me tick more. And I've heard a lot of people over the internet saying the same thing. So big shout out to one of my best friends, April. She found and got me this headband, which one keeps the hair out of my face. I'm not used to this long of hair. I've always had short hair like my mother. So it keeps my hair out of my face, and it also has these little buttons on here that you attach the mask to. So I'm not going to put it on right now, but you wear it and the mask attaches to the headband, not your ears, and it's not sliding and it's not feeling so suffocating. Yes, of course, still having the mask on my face makes me tick, but it's going to help a lot more to have this and being able to breathe and not have so much on my face. So thank you, April, for finding that for me.
Thank you, April.
So
maybe Devyn, maybe you'd be up for posting just a still shot picture of what it looks like with the mask on it so people can see how it works after the fact.
Absolutely. I'll also ask her where she got them because she told me one of her friends makes these. So we'll find out how she's getting them. We'll get contact information. And please find it on tsiloveyou.com or the TS I Love You Facebook page or group. So today, on our first ever vlog podcast to be determined title, we have a couple questions that we received from our audience. We asked out on our own individual pages of the Power of Three and TS I Love You. Remind me again exactly, it was how do people deal with their anxiety in their daily home right now with everyone being home? Is that the question on hand?
Absolutely. We were talking, really what we wanted to reach out is just see how everybody's dealing during these times of being closed in, because that for people who are anxious can really close you in and make things more difficult. So we reached out to see if there were any questions that you all had about, organizing your kids' days or things that you're happening while you're together that we could help from our experience share with you that have helped in raising Devyn and her sister Reagan and things we've learned in our last 17 years of this path. It's 17 years, can you believe that?
Since we've been diagnosed?
2004.
That's insane.
Right. 16 years. Yeah, coming up on 17. Yeah. It'll be 17 in September.
That's insane.
It was 2 weeks before your 10th birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to me. You're Tourette syndrome.
Yeah, happy birthday to you, her, and him.
That's true. Well, on a side note, my birthday is also 9/11, so take your pick.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's another vlog.
Anyway, so the question on hand was keeping a structured schedule to reduce stress for your kids, and in the meantime, yourself. Because once your kids are relaxed and having a more consistent schedule, it just makes life a little easier. Happy kid, happy life. Forget about happy wife.
I'm going to remind you of that.
All right. So I know growing up for me in general, before being in middle school, with having Tourette's and then the hormones and going through puberty, it was a time. So being able to go out and have those extracurricular activities was a huge outlet for me personally. And I know for Reagan, it was too. So when it came to that, now everyone's home and they can't do anything. So as a parent, what would you do to suggest in terms of keeping those structured curricular activities to the home life? What would you first recommend as a parent?
I'm remembering you and your sister and all the energy that you guys had when you were younger. And when we got snowed in, we probably got snowed in maybe 4 or 5 days in a row type of a thing. And you guys would be really just need to run.
Throw us out in the snow.
Right, out she goes. When I look at that question now, I think now in terms of people that have extra funds to be able to afford some things like a backyard trampoline. Depending on how you feel about trampolines, some people do have safety issues with them with a large net. That's something that we actually did, and it was phenomenal to be able to let the energy out. It also brought kids to the neighborhood for socialization. Now, we don't want them socializing now, obviously. We don't want them in a pinned trampoline.
In a netted area.
No. No. But the trampoline itself, it was so when we got diagnosed, 2004 with Dr. Peter Meyer, may he rest in peace. And
amazing man.
Peter was a pediatric neurologist psychologist, and he was also on the board of directors for the Tourette Society for Pennsylvania. Your dad, when we got diagnosed, your dad went online and looked up Tourette's and saw now the TAA, it was at that time the TSA. And then they gave us the name of Dr. Meyer, and then the rest of it is all history. He taught me almost everything I knew and pointed me in the direction of advocacy. So he was the one that first, to answer your direct question, it was Dr. Meyer that was the one that first said, you need to structure your day. You need to time block out your day so everyone knows. Almost, he said, you don't have to be militaristic, but militant, excuse me. You don't need to be militant, but you need to be timed out and structured so the children know at this time I get up, at this time we're going to have dinner, and it relieves a lot of the anxiety. So when I'm talking to some families now during coronavirus, I'm advising the same thing. Keep them on their schedules, because we've all done it. It's when this all started, we were kind of, how were you when you and Jake first started? When Jim and I first got locked down, it was like food a go-go over here, and nobody was holding any schedules, and we know better, and that's what I do for a living. It's like, how about you and Jake? What were you guys like?
For those of you, Jake is my boyfriend of 3 years. Jim is my mother's husband. So yeah, just a little side note there. So definitely for me and Jake, the first time this happened, I was sleeping in. I had no schedule at all either, and that's really important. I've been talking with people that have been sleeping until noon now, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like now, every time, if my sleeping in is up at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I remember the first week I had paid time off at work, and I just remember being like, I'm at home. I am still at home, and I can't do anything. So that was definitely hard. But now we found a rhythm. We're back at work. We're part of the essential work. So we go out there, and hence the needing of the mask and things like that. So now that we're both back at work, it's almost ironically we're too much time away from each other right now, which we've been trying to fix and spend some time with each other.
So do you honor time blocking? Do you block out your schedule? And
absolutely. So I'm about to show you my calendar. I work 5 days a week. I have 2 days off, and then work is pink. I also have therapy appointments that I have on the phone. I have them next Monday, since tomorrow's Memorial Day. But this is my time blocking. It's I know for people it's a lot to look at. I don't look at it during the month. I go by day. So I'll start with the month and then see it. Yep. So here we go.
There we are.
It looks like a lot, but again, it helps me. I have when my paydays are. I have exactly when I'm working. It down to, Jake got a haircut last week. We had that down, because people have to schedule now to go into places like salons and which is really good. But yeah, so
let's bring this around, Devyn. Let's bring this around. Let's talk about time blocking for families that have young kids at home that are doing the distant learning, rolling real close into summer and being off, and maybe very well looking at being home through September, October, November. Very possible. I've listened to enough school board calls in California and New York State, and everyone is anticipating the fall will be home. Just to make sure. So talk about to me as a child growing up from time blocking. And we can what would you recommend to families right now?
So I remember going through middle school and high school, and it was back-to-back classes. You had lunch break, maybe breaks in the hallway and stuff like that. And I remember that not being enough. Now we're home, and now it's all online. So now they're just in front of a computer all day, getting distracted, needing to sit still, not sitting still. And then I went into college, and I had to choose when my classes were, and having that spread out was amazing. So my main point would be to time it out with enough breaks. They have an hour of math class, and then for 30 minutes they have to, let's say if they do have a trampoline at their home, it's not a chore, it's not a task, but go out, have fun in their backyard. Or if video games is something they like to play a video game for 30 minutes, and then take another 10 minutes to refocus again, and then you're back at it. Having those breaks definitely helps, because if you just say, okay, math, and now you got to go to English, and you're not leaving the computer and having time to rest. College was perfect for me because I had those breaks. That's the only reason that happened.
I remember you called me. You were like 2 weeks into your first semester, your freshman year, and you went, "This is great." And I'm like, I know. I know. But you love the piece in between.
I had
Well, okay.
the breaks. You're right. And I
Right.
can choose when. And that's another thing too. Within reason, depends how old these families' children are, have them choose too. So they feel they have some control and they're interactive in on it as well. So if they say, the parent says, okay, you have an hour to do homework at 10 a.m. to 11. What topic do you want to learn? And then lunch is 11:30 to 12, let's say. They have another 30 minutes to play, and then they're back at it at 12:30. What are you going to learn this time? Have them choose. That's how they get interactive and more excited over it.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. A lot. I was thinking about the extra or the getting the energy out as well. Little mini trampolines you can order. Those are much more cost effective. You can also Google online. I saw this flash by the other day. Some of the Olympic athletes, even though the Olympics are still training, are doing training at home, and they're showing how they're doing it. And one guy, and I'm saying, do not try this without somebody in your home, but he has oil on his bathtub floor, and he's running on his floor, and he's holding on to something.
Doing that, yep.
Right. I mean, there are ways to get your kids' energies. Actually, it's over here in the corner. I think it was like $19. The big exercise ball that I have. I use that. That's great to get energy out on kids when they're home. Let them play with that. Just get everything up and off.
Or even sit on it doing work. It gives them places to put that energy in. So they're on the computer and that's their chair instead.
Exactly. Remember how your sister used to be able to balance on it and not move?
Core strength max.
She can still do that. She just did it the other day. She can. For those of you so exercise ball over there. The silver. You can buy them at Target.
Yeah.
You can buy them at Target.
Well, with air, it's bouncy.
Reagan, all of a sudden, she was probably 2. We look and she's watching TV. She's got her hands crossed, crisscross applesauce with her legs crossed, and she's staring there perfectly balanced. And she did that probably for 5 years. It never moved, right?
And then she became rolled on it.
So the other day I said, "Hey, remember when you used to?" She goes, "I can still do that." She can still do it. We'll have her do it. Well, she's not here right now. She went for a walk. We'll have her do it on our next one.
There you go. So those are some ideas. Other things you can think of? Because I remember going back to having them decide their schedule too. What kind of tools? I remember you having us color code things. That was a big deal. We had little star charts on if we, completed our tasks on time and things like that. What other things did you have us do?
So we always had you get involved. So Dr. Meyer taught us really early, on day one, that people with anxiety disorders, OCD, ADHD, and the Tourette community can be very highly creative. Very highly creative. And you were on stage before diagnosis. Right, exactly. Oh, the lights. So we got you involved hands-on crafting and making your own star charts and coloring. And I always had a chalkboard wall somewhere. And then we made it fun to keep notes and color code and remember your lunch and write it in blue. We were always
the chalkboard.
Oh yeah, chalkboard is always good. There's one right there.
Yep.
So getting your child involved in the actual process of creating the organization, they buy into it much more often. Two is you have to know your own child. So part of the webinars I've been listening to, and it was just so prudent, is there are children absolutely. We want the one-to-one contact with teachers. There's no substitute for a good solid classroom and building the relationship one-to-one in the room with the teacher, and everybody knows that. But there are children that may be on the spectrum disorder that don't do as well in the classroom, and there are children that are actually thriving going through their programs because they're the type of child that's going to sit and just go, and just get it done and focus. They don't have the social interaction, and they don't require the social interaction. Majority of the people do. And there's, we're not taking away from in education learning versus, home. But there are people that have found their children are benefiting from learning this. Anyway, I gotta get myself into a change.
It's less distractions in the classroom when you're in your own familiar home setting.
Right. Right. And for some children that are high on the spectrum disorder, it's better for them to feel isolated. So their parents are seeing that and saying, okay, so how am I going to motivate my child? When's their best time? So that brings me full back to, I would look at your particular child and see their needs. When are they best alert? Research says mornings, get them. But we all know you don't have to get on the bus at 6:30 in the morning anymore. If your child excels at 10 a.m., sit down and get that homework done at 10 a.m. Get them done in the morning. I love the phrase, conquer the day by noon, because then when life comes at you in the afternoon, you've already done you've done all the things you have to do. You've done the hard work in the morning. You've gotten that out of the way. So now the rest of the day, you can run around the block and exercise the dog and do what you need to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember
your question. I got a little sidetracky there.
Star charts star charts know your kid. Again, the main point I think you hit on was know what time they are best active or alert. Because I know for me personally, like you said, 10 a.m. to noon, maybe 2 o'clock at the max is like my prime time. I like to have everything done if I could by then. And I know, for example, like with my boyfriend, Jake, he kind of likes it towards the end of the day kind of thing, like get what you need to do and not procrastinate, but he has a specific time where he can get things done. That's more towards like 4 o'clock. That's just how he likes to get it done. So you got to know your audience.
Yeah, everybody has their own schedule. And keeping to your schedule is going to help keep down your anxiety level. When you know what to expect and you know what's coming and you know it's your time to do what you have to do, and it just becomes a rhythm and you get more relaxed and you deep breathe and you get through it. The thing that's happening now is everybody's trying to get through it together on top of coronavirus. Depending on how you're keeping your house and how locked down you are, people are on top of each other and tempers can get going.
So with those tempers, what would you recommend to do if your kid starts, fighting back, if they don't want to do it, if they don't want to stick to a schedule and that's an anxious new thing? How would you recommend to parents to, get them on track and want to time schedule?
So the first thing, it's a great question because it happens all the time. And the first thing I would do is say, okay, let's talk about your child's diagnosis. What are we looking at? Are we looking at a defiance disorder that needs doctor intervention and actual, accommodations built in. I don't want to touch. I am not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I spend my life with them. Devyn likes to joke around that I made a career out of my children's disabilities. So, but I am not a doctor, and I don't want to say, but there are with some rage disorders, doctors are telling families to build $3,000 to $5,000 into their budgets every year for walls that children are punching in and things like that. So there's a lot there to know what exactly you're looking at. And, it goes kind of back to the question of how do you know what is your child's disability or disorder speaking? And what's your child just being a normal child trying to be a brat? Because, and pushing the envelope. And that's a really fine line. How do you know that? And for a parent, me personally, it was always a swinging pendulum, because I didn't want you to think you had privilege or an ability to do something that society was going to slap your hand for as soon as you left my house. I mean, our job was to raise you. I believe our job was to raise you so you guys could be self-sufficient adults in the world and know what was coming and know how to duck, So, does that answer your question?
It answers what to do in terms of coping and adjusting to your child, but what would you do in terms of techniques to get them on board? And that was more in terms of the long run. What would you do for the short term while they're
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, for example, I remember when I first had a panic attack that I can remember, I would not want to take what we call the chill pill and to try and help calm me down. We personally, as a family, we believe in medication. That's just our opinion and our belief. It's not something that we force down others. But we are a family that medicates together. And so, I remember fighting back on that. So I guess in terms of that instance, how do you get other children fighting against doing the time schedule? Hey, your 30 minutes are up on video games. Come on, let's go back and do homework. Then they throw a panic attack tantrum. What would you recommend?
Age appropriate, going right back into what you had said earlier, which is getting them to have the buy-in, getting them to help create the program, understand these are the goals. And it starts young. Early intervention is everything. It's early intervention on behavior modifications, early intervention on any education issues that are happening. And when your child understands in the beginning what's expected of them, this is your house, you live here, we love you, but this is our house, and you're not contributing rent. You're not in charge. You're not paying the mortgage. Exactly. And this is what's expected of you. And you and Reagan, nodded your heads and said, okay, I understand. You weren't always happy about it. I got the, smugly walkway around. And I got it, but you knew what was expected of you. And there was cushion and time blocks built in. So as we set your schedules and said, here's what you're responsible for, we also made it softer for you and easier landing places, like your room. I would put your clothes away. I would do laundry. I was a stay-home mom at that time. And I would do laundry and I would put your clothes away and you were little, and I would organize and color code so you'd start to see the pattern. I did the research and read what's the easiest for your ADHD kids and drawers and the whole bit. So I wanted you to see the patterns of how an organized life could be, because I knew, they say the phrase, this is what ADHD looks like, life's going like this. Mm-hmm. I figured if I could keep role modeling to you what organization looked like, and I was learning it because I was a messy kid. My grandfather took a picture of my room when I was 16 and sent it to me back, and there was like clothes all over the floor. It looks like your sister's room right now. Oh. So I was a messy kid, totally. It wasn't like I started organized, not a chance. So, but I figured if I role modeled you. Now, some people would say, there's two sides to every coin. And some people would say, no, I enabled you. It's too enabling. She should have been putting her own laundry away. We'll see how that turns out. We'll see which way it goes.
For it in other places too. Like I help put dishes away. I cleaned up in the family room and in the basement.
Oh, always.
Help me get started in the day. I definitely don't. Personally, I don't think I was enable at all. Because what you were mentioning is finding that cushion. And I remember at one time we turned the guest room, it was still the guest room, but we also turned it into my old workplace office. Do you remember that?
I do now. I forgot about that.
The main important thing was I picked the color. I chose a light green because it was soothing. Plus, we love painting. We had a black hallway. We loved colors. But I picked the color. I had a desk. It was about, 6 feet. And I remember there were certain things. I had a comfortable chair. There were certain things. And this was when I went into this room. This was my work room. And it was separate from my own, oasis that was my bedroom, because that was work and this was relax. And I remember, there were certain things on the desk to help. Like I had little stress balls and push toys. I even had a running fountain, a little desk fountain. And for some kids, again, knowing your kid, it could be a distraction. But for me, having that constant sound of water helped, and having something to fiddle with in my hand helped. Now, granted, there are some kids that are only fixated on this toy. It might not work for them. But for me, it really helped.
Right. So, Devyn, if I can piggyback onto that, I was just thinking. So, for those of you in coronavirus right now, that we're all in coronavirus, thinking about how you could separate space, you could take a sheet. I mean, if your children share a bedroom, you could take a sheet and tack up a little space and pick a little corner and have that be a little corner. You could make a little tent out of blankets and stuff and have a little desk in there. Anything to give people, I'm thinking of, everyone, what works for every single person. Anything to give a little bit of privacy and a little bit of cornered off workspace. It's a great idea. Wow, we were smart. I didn't remember that. You're right. I remember the color too. Totally.
No, I remember here. I'll show you too. Like another thing you can do. It's really easy with like clotheslining, using that in general. I just pick something up randomly. Is a great thing because you have something to do. Close off. You have comfort of the computer. There's still enough light, and then if you're in your zone, that'll definitely help.
One of the things that we love to play with, and it just happened. I come from a long line of women that love to decorate their homes, and you picked up on it too, and off we go. Is we try to decorate for whatever the accommodation is that we're working at. If the issue is noise and sound and hypersensitivity, maybe there's executive dysfunctioning disorders, or something's going on and you need to just settle some noise and focus, we would make a decorating issue out of it. And we would hang something, we'd divide something, we'd paint something, we would make something, and that made it fun, and it made it more about life in general than, ooh, you have ADHD and we need to find you a space that's quiet.
Well, I remember. Yeah, I remember in my little office, we had the desk facing the window because, for me, putting my face to a wall didn't help. It didn't make me feel good. It gave me anxiety. And our backyard was one of those where it had trees on the along the border, so we weren't able to look in other people's yards. And it wasn't a constant shiny thing moment. I'm always looking out the window. So that really helped too, knowing, what works. And sometimes looking at a wall just isn't it.
And you could see the birdhouse from there.
You could see the birdhouse.
You could see the birdhouse. I know. Okay, so what we're talking about is finding quiet spaces within your house, getting some isolation, because though this is a great time to bring everybody together. And I mean, I've loved having Reagan here, Deb, and I mean, just being able to spend this kind of one-on-one quality time, I hope to never have again. I hope that coronavirus doesn't come back and we're not all like this again. But, the time that developing, we've been having just a lovely time together. And she found the closet.
She found the closet.
Another
podcast. Into fashion. That's closet.
The closet spoke to her. But you need your time apart. You need your space. And not everybody has square footage to make that space. So I think what we're talking about here is finding quiet corners to isolate each other, soft little comfy pillows. That's Johnny's spot. That's Beth's spot. And keep people separated that way. how to keep people, to go back to the original question, which is how are we keeping people's anxiety down? We're keeping it down by remaining structured, sitting down with your child and putting down the day from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, looking at where all the areas are. Are you tired in this time of day? Are you not? Where are you getting your homework done? And then you plug it all in and you honor it by following it, by using a reward chart if that's your family's thing, whatever it is that you do to reward each other. And you just keep trying, and every day's a new day, and you did great today. You've got a couple areas we can work on. Let's try again tomorrow. It's a great day.
Yep.
Because as Scarlett O'Hara said, tomorrow
is another day.
Does that answer our question from our audience today?
I think so. And if not, feel free to comment below. Let us know if there are any other things, too, that we haven't touched base on. In the meantime, Marla, from The Power of Three, is there anything else that we haven't touched base on in terms of keeping that structured schedule at home?
No, I think we've got it pretty well covered. What I did want to touch on is that we are in the middle of Tourette Awareness Month.
Yes.
May 15th through June 15th is Tourette Awareness Month. So please be watching our posts. We're putting up information. Every Tourette person is different, like a snowflake, and there's just worlds to know and some great people doing some really great things. Wait till you hear about the NASA scientist we're about to talk about, who has Tourette syndrome, who's down launching rockets and all this fun stuff. So
yeah, really great.
More to talk about on that for sure.
And please keep an eye out on TSA Love You. I will be hosting a webinar for anxiety and how to cope with it. We're going over, different types of anxiety and what kind of coping skills we can use to go over it and helping, again, keep the structured daily schedule going.
Yeah, and then I will be addressing on The Power of Three, co-parenting during coronavirus. So we're going to be talking about that too.
So keep an eye out for our schedules on Facebook, on our website. Well, hers is to be coming out eventually, and then as well as our title. We will eventually come up with a title.
You know what? We could just say working title.
Working title. Working 9 to 5.
Oh my God, we're ending on that note. I love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We really appreciate it. We'll see you again on our next webinar session. Again, I'm Devyn from TSA Love You. That was my mother, and these are the awesome new headbands. Link below. Ding. Have a good one, guys. Stay safe.